wreck everybody's fun. But, I mean, you guys can still stay over there and look at the animals unless you need to be up here, Senator Kroon, or at the testifier table. Welcome to the Committee on Capital Investment. It's Tuesday, February 25th. We have a big agenda. Senator Pappas is presenting a bill on another committee, so I will be chairing until she gets here. And first up, we've got the Minnesota Zoo. And we've got Dr. Annie, I've met you when I did the tour, I think. Director of Animal Health, and Zoo Director John Frawley. So welcome to the committee, and just state your name for the record, and then go ahead and present.
Thank you, Madam Chair and committee members. I'm John Frawley, Director of the Minnesota Zoo.
And I'm Ann Rivas. I am the Director of Animal Health at the Minnesota Zoo.
Madam Chair, I think we should first, I just want to thank Shannon and Jess who brought the animals today. We're really proud of our Ambassador Animal Program. They travel the state. They do programs at the zoo to a lot of special needs, people who can't travel. So they've built their careers doing this. So just thank you guys very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having us today. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So, Madam Chair, today we'd like to go over just our request for the zoo, but first we'd like to do a little bit of a Zoo 101. We'll talk about our current bonding request. Dr. Rivas is going to cover some of our animal hospital challenges that we're faced with. We'd like to discuss the new project and then end with asset preservation needs for the zoo. As a lot of you know, the zoo is a state agency, public-private partnership. But we are a really unique state agency in the fact that only 37% of our funding comes from the state. The rest we raise through earned revenue and private funds. So we have to run ourselves as a solid business operation with that just partial funding from the state. We are the 5th largest zoo in the country, over 500 acres. The average zoo in the country is less than 30 or 40 acres. And we're really proud to say that we are Minnesota's top year-round gated attraction. Last year we hit 1.5 million visitors. So it's a really great, after 47 years of having the zoo, we hit record attendance. We have great access programs that reach over 120,000 visitors free. So the zoo is a free zoo to those who need it to be free. If you qualify for general assistance, you can come to the Minnesota Zoo for free. We are a big educational leader, one of the biggest environmental destinations in the state. Over 83,000 students, 1,000 schools throughout Minnesota. We also run the largest zoo camp in the nation here in Minnesota, so we're very proud of that. But all that said, we are not the new zoo anymore. Our campus is 50 years old. Our request this year is for a new animal hospital building for $17,675,000. We are requesting asset preservation at over $3.8 million. So that is our request. I'll pass it on to Dr. Rivas.
Thank you, Director Frawley. So the Animal Hospital project at the Minnesota Zoo is a mission-critical project to replace the zoo's outdated animal hospital. It was originally built in 1975 and was actually the very first building built at the zoo in anticipation of bringing new animals to the zoo and the state. The current facility lacks the essential infrastructure needed to meet both the USDA and modern veterinary standards. And this poses risks to both our animals and humans that need to utilize the space every day. You can see on this slide a couple pictures of us working in our treatment space, both shortly after the zoo opened in 1976, and today the space hasn't changed much, and we still struggle to work with the wide variety of species that we have in this outdated facility. Overall, the animal hospital is plagued by several key challenges, including deteriorating animal holding spaces that make it impossible to properly house animals for treatment. On the left of this slide, you can see one of our exterior holding areas that we can no longer keep animals in due to structural issues, and the state of the deterioration is such that it does not make sense to repair. It's not feasible to repair. They would have to be entirely reconstructed to make them usable again. We also have an outdated surgical area and treatment area that are both too small and lack multiple other features to make them functional in the modern era, including proper ventilation, which poses a risk to both humans and animals. In our surgical space, we have had challenges with multiple infections at surgical sites due to the ventilation problems. You can see us here too, working on a mountain lion on a folding table because we don't have space for a proper large animal table in that area. And there are other issues as well as asbestos and mold in this aging facility that we are struggling to mitigate. One of the largest challenges is our lack of an outdoor garage, which was the initial inspiration for this due to the number of safety challenges this posed. Without an indoor loading dock or garage, our vet team is unable to keep our treatment vans stocked with necessary medications and supplies to be ambulance ready at a moment's notice. Due to our extreme Minnesota climate, our medications would not last being kept outside year round. There's also challenges with moving animals in and out of this space as well as equipment. Basically, anything that comes into the hospital or leaves the hospital has to come in over this outdoor loading dock, which includes anesthetized tigers and brown bears that are getting lifted up and over that dock indoors, as well as heavy equipment in and out year-round, 24/7, day or night. We had one of our veterinarians sustain a concussion out here, slipping on the ice when she reached into the van to grab an oxygen tank. So multiple human and animal safety issues in this area because it's not enclosed.
Okay, so we'd like to go into a little bit of our proposed center. 4 pillars to the new hospital, obviously, I think makes sense for Minnesota and for the zoo. One is a state-of-the-art facility to serve the 5,000 animals we have at the Minnesota Zoo, a modern facility. We also are trying to achieve with this project it being a teaching hospital that can serve all of Minnesota and also expose young people to the career of veterinary medicine and related fields. This building will also identify human health, which we will talk about in a little bit. And a really big key is to have partners. We don't need a lot of these buildings around the state. We need one good one that can be partnered with and serve the entire state. So we'll discuss that in a little bit. The proposed project is a $30 million project. We have received previous state funding to do design work, so thank you for that design funding. And there's our state request, but I think what I'm really proud of is at the zoo we have been working hard over the last 4 or 5 years to raise private dollars, and we've raised over $9 million at this point privately. So we are bringing that to the table to reach that $30 million cost.
So of the pillars that we're addressing with this new facility, one is, of course, animal health, the care of animals at the Minnesota Zoo, as well as zoo and wildlife animals statewide here in Minnesota. Mostly, one of the big things is through safer, more ergonomic work environments. Compared to our current spaces, there is room to move people and animals and equipment more efficiently through this space, as well as lifts and other devices to reduce workplace injuries. There is advanced diagnostic technology, including a new CT scanner to suit the needs of the wide variety of species we care for at the Minnesota Zoo, everything from corals to dairy cattle. There's also a larger surgical suite and appropriate large animal operating table, so we're no longer housing dangerous animals on folding tables. Of course, there is the new garage that provides that indoor ambulance bay, so we can keep our vans stocked with all the necessary equipment we could need at a moment's notice, and helps protect our vehicles. This also allows us to have a safe space to unload and load anesthetized or crated animals indoors, regardless of weather conditions. That is also contained for animal safety. It provides us with the opportunity to furthermore support partner services and access. So as Director Frawley mentioned, we hope to be able to better support the zoo and wildlife health needs throughout the state, and having an appropriate access bay and loading dock to bring animals to us or to go out and to service other facilities is provided with this new garage. And of course, it's centrally located on the zoo grounds versus the current hospital, which is over a mile from our main zoo campus. We're also looking to advance and improve our animal holding spaces to ensure that they are safe holding areas for animals that are both recovering from injury and illness, as well as new animals coming into the zoo where they can quarantine to make sure they do not bring illnesses to the animals already living there. And the spaces are updated to allow safe treatment of wild animals, both for the animal safety as well as humans, as well as improved monitoring technology for animals while they're under our care. We are also hoping to create this as a true teaching facility. One component of this is having appropriate viewing areas for the public, so public can come through, zoo guests, school tours, and watch veterinary procedures while they are in place. And we are also creating increased opportunities for conferencing and classroom for veterinary conferences, workshops, as well as veterinary student internships and externships, and to further our ongoing research projects and collaborations for advancing preventative medicine, treatments, and care of wildlife species.
So as we approach this project, one of the things I've learned about this project and learned about the vet industry and the vet career is that being a vet or vet tech is one of the highest stress levels of most jobs. It has a high level of suicide rates that go well above other professions, as well as a lot of mental health. And so it's been documented as a challenge across the country with veterinarians. So this building, we obviously took the time to say we should design it not just for the health of the animals, but this should have a building with building standards for the people that have to care for these animals. They deal with loss and grief a lot, and we want this building to reflect the needs on that front. So I think it'll be a special building in Minnesota and set the stage nationally. A really big part of this, like I said earlier, we don't need 3 or 4 exotic species hospitals in Minnesota. We need one good one that's willing to partner and work with everybody around the state. So I've traveled around and we've got endorsements and support from a lot of our partners. There's more coming. 3 or 4 more are signed on, I think, this last week. So working with the university, working with the Minnesota Vet Associations, making sure this is a building that will benefit all of Minnesota is a priority.
We also wanted to play a part in addressing the veterinary crisis in Minnesota. Livestock producers in particular, but veterinary professionals in general are facing a severe shortage for large animal as well as small animal veterinarians, and this has only worsened in our post-pandemic era. According to the USDA, the shortage of rural veterinarians has reached an all-time high in 2023, with 500 counties across 46 states classified as having a critical need for large animal veterinarians, and 7 of these counties are located here in Minnesota. Our hope with this hospital is to strengthen the recruitment and retention of veterinarians in the field. And although not all are going to go on to become zoo veterinarians, it helps just provide that support system for our veterinary colleagues in the state, as well as to build a passion for veterinary medicine and young people to help bring them into the field.
Also, Madam Chair, committee members, we do have an asset preservation request of just over $3.8 million. As I mentioned earlier, the zoo is 50 years old. The campus is 50 years old. We're seeing that failing pieces of the campus all over. So we are requesting some critical asset preservation as well. With that, Madam Chair, committee members, we would stand for questions.
Thank you so much, Director Frawley, for being here today and bringing the animals in. That was fun. Did the members get here early to hang out with the animals? Great, I did too, a little earlier than you all. I wanted to ask you about your patio, how the construction is going on that. Is it underway? Have you finished? Do you call it the patio? I'm not sure what you call it. The thing that was...
Oh, the lakes, our waterfront renewal project. Yes, so we have a project that surrounds the main lake in the Minnesota Zoo, and that project is in final stages of design and demolition, hopefully to begin this fall. So thank you for that support, and that's well underway.
And that's what we funded in '23?
Correct.
Okay. It takes that long to design it?
And permitting.
And what?
And also permitting.
Permitting?
Yep.
But I thought this was the area outside the main building of the zoo that was kind of collapsing. Is that the same thing we're talking about?
Yep, Madam Chair, so we call it the Waterfront Renewal Project, or historically the Lakeside Plaza.
Okay, Lakes Plaza, that's the word.
That's the word.
Not patio plaza.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Okay.
it did have a lot of structural engineering review to it, as well as some unique timing because it is a wetland. And so there's a lot of timing issues with permitting within the wetland.
Okay,
But we are underway, and it's moving forward. Thank you.
great, thanks. Questions? Senator Housley.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and Mr. Frawley, and thank you, Dr. Rivas, for coming, and thank you for bringing the animals. That was so fun, even though I think I almost got bit. Well, definitely was chasing.
They don't bite.
She said if they have a mouth, it can bite. Anyway, so stay away from Senator Pappas. Anyway, so how do private contributions come into play when you're paying for the zoo improvements?
Director Frawley.
Madam Chair, committee members, we do have a 501c3 in statute of the Minnesota Zoo Foundation that works directly with donors and supporters for projects like this.
Madam Chair.
Senator Hawley.
Yeah, thank you. And,
Housley.
We really enjoyed touring when we came there last summer, and really do see the need for the improvements and everything that you said. And I'm excited for the observatory glass wall there. That would be great for educational purposes and for entertainment for people like me and my grandkids. But the ask last year was less than the 17.6 million this year. Does that reflect a project scope, or is that inflationary?
Director Frawley.
Madam Chair, committee members, it was 15 last year. MMB put an inflation adjustment to it that brought it to the new number.
Thank you. That's all, Madam Chair.
Any other questions? All right, I want to see all your pictures with the zoo animals, so we can post it on our capital investment Facebook page. Thank you so much for coming today. Next, we have Karen Burkholz, Deputy Director of the Minnesota Public Facilities Authority. Welcome. Ms. Burkholz, is it Karen or Karen?
It's Karen.
Karen.
Senator Housley, I could tell you a story about our name when we have time.
All right. And our director, Jeff Anderson?
Jeff Freeman recently retired.
Jeff retired, right.
Yes.
How dare he? I hope you had a good party for him.
We did, and in fact, we have another one coming up Thursday afternoon. So we've had several, actually. He was very much appreciated by many people.
Okay.
And
I'm sorry, could you introduce yourself also for the tape?
yes, I'm Steve Walter, the newly appointed Executive Director of the Public Facilities Authority and longtime Chief Financial Officer of the Authority.
Oh, well, congratulations and welcome.
Thank you.
Great. And how long have you been on the job, like 20 minutes?
Pretty much. Actually, tomorrow is my first official day. I was appointed
I was right.
last week, but I start getting the new pay tomorrow.
Yeah.
So.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Right. We'll try not to give you too hard a time.
Thank you.
All right. So, Ms. Burkholz, you're going to do the presentation
Yes,
then.
I am.
All right, go ahead and proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Karen Burkholz. I'm the Deputy Director of the Public Facilities Authority, and I'm happy to be here today. I will give you a quick overview of who we are and what we do, and then I will review the request from that's in the governor's capital budget and our programs as well. The Minnesota Public Facilities Authority is a
Excuse me, members, it looks like we do not have their handout, so you'll have to pay special attention. And could you send that to us then afterwards?
Absolutely.
Thanks.
I had everything. I'll start again. The Minnesota Public Facilities Authority is a multi-agency collaborative between 6 state agencies. And our mission is to provide low-interest rate loans and grants to help cities and other local governments maintain and improve their water infrastructure systems while keeping costs affordable for their residents. We do this by providing project financing to cities of all sizes across our state. And the tools that we use are low interest rate loans that are available to all projects in the fundable range of our intended use plans, IUPs, or targeted grants based on affordability and specific project types. Our priority is to manage the revolving loan fund assets into perpetuity. That's in our statute. It's also a requirement from the Environmental Protection Agency, and we take that responsibility very seriously. We provide financing programs supporting water quality, public health, and other priorities identified by the MPFA member agencies. We help local governments maintain and improve the condition of infrastructure assets while keeping rates affordable for their residents. We finance most types of municipal wastewater and drinking water projects in cooperation primarily with the Pollution Control Agency, MPCA, and the Minnesota Department of Health, MDH. And the type of activities that we fund include replacing aging infrastructure, pipes and treatment facilities, improving systems for better service and efficiency, upgrading treatment facilities to improve water quality, and extending services to meet existing needs. All projects are ranked on the MPCA, that's for clean water, and MDH, drinking water, project priority lists based on water quality and public health criteria. In turn, then, cities request placement on our annual clean water and drinking water intended use plans when projects are scheduled for construction. In general, the PPLs, the project priority lists, have a 5-year window, and our intended use plans are on an annual cycle, 1 year, because the project should be ready to go. The MPFA, as I mentioned, is the collaborative between 6 state agencies, and the chair of the board is the Commissioner of Deed. The requests that you see on this slide are the same that we were presented last year when we came to committee last year. And by statute, we are required to support the federal investment from the EPA with annual grants, and that's basically a 20% match to the federal resources. Repayments revolve back into our revolving loan funds, and they also pay our revenue debt bond service, and we use them to make new loans. Federal funds include principal forgiveness grants for disadvantaged communities and green infrastructure. And the governor's capital budget request for 2025 totals a little over $99 million, and that includes that state match to the federal capitalization grants and funding for 3 other programs, which I will describe in turn. The $39 million in state match will unlock $215 million in federal funds. The projects on our 2 IUPs that are not fundable due to lack of the state match are listed here for you. It's about 51 projects on the Clean Water IUP requesting $465 million, and 81 projects on the Drinking Water IUP requesting $319 million. After the MPCA and MDH complete their annual PPL process, we build those intended use plans for clean water and drinking water. And these represent projects that are eligible to apply for funding within that year. And also other eligible activities that we fund, and information on the operations and fiscal status of both of the 2 revolving funds. The IUPs also serve as the basis for our application for the federal drinking water and clean water state revolving funds. We previously received an appropriation from the legislature for the state match in 2023, and that was for the 2024 federal capitalization grants and year 3 of the Infrastructure Investment and Job Act supplemental funds. And as indicated on our slide, those dollars are fully allocated to projects. The PFA does not have funding for state match beyond that. The availability of the funds is a consideration when we consider how far down the list of projects on the IUPs we can fund. At the board meeting in October of 2024, the board, based on the available resources, said we will be funding the carryover projects for each of the IUPs. So these are projects that were listed in 2023, not yet funded, carrying forward to the 2024 IUP. We have a fundable range, non-fundable range. We also have our lead service line projects in there and other things. And the board determined that we can fund within that carry forward level only. Of course, that would change if we got an appropriation and got the match. So this is what is listed here for you, our current situation and the request. The other 3 programs I'll describe for you quickly. The Water Infrastructure Fund, WIF, is a grant program established in state statute that provides grants to cities to replace aging infrastructure that would otherwise be unaffordable. The goal is to reduce risk of major system failures. We package the WIF grants with MPFA clean water or drinking water revolving fund programs or USDA rural development funds for small cities. Municipalities seeking WIF grants must be listed on the PPLs, as mentioned before, and they rank the projects according to age and condition of the existing infrastructure and environmental and public health criteria. And the projects are, like I said, expecting to proceed to construction within a 5-year period. We award the WIF grants to eligible projects based on that priority ranking and their readiness to proceed. Following statute, each fiscal year, we have some funding that we hold for these eligible projects when they are certified by the MPCA or MDH, or when the project receives a funding commitment from USDA Rural Development. We reserve those funds based in an amount based on the project cost estimates when the projects are certified by either MPFA or MDH, and or the as-bid costs, whichever is less. Grants are awarded when as-bid construction costs are received and all application information is verified. When a project's as-bid cost would be greater than what we had anticipated, we try to be able to match that, and so the project is truly funded, fully funded, so that they can proceed with construction. Our criteria for affordability is set in state statute, and it's based on the average system cost per household. The MPFA evaluates all of the projects that are on our IUPs with our loan, with that potential WIF. We do it, WIF calc is what we call it, and it's basically determining which communities would be qualifying for grants, and we do that for all of our applicants. And based upon our current estimates, available WIF and federal principal forgiveness funds are reserved to meet estimated affordable grant needs for all of those carryover projects that I mentioned that received technical approvals. Those are certifications from the engineers at MDH or PCA. Additional appropriations will be needed for new WIF eligible projects in 2025 and beyond. Currently, new projects, except for high priority drinking water emerging contaminants projects, are not included in the 2025 IUP fundable range due to the lack of the state match appropriation for the clean water and drinking water revolving funds. The list of potential WIF eligible projects may grow as additional project information is received. Total estimated unfunded WIF needs offset by significant IIJA principal forgiveness funds for identified projects on the 2025 project priority lists are $64 million for drinking water and $39 million for clean water. The estimated WIF need for both clean water and drinking water projects is indicated on our slide. PSIG, the Point Source Implementation Grant Program, is also established in state statute and provides grants to help cities upgrade water treatment facilities to improve water quality by meeting more stringent permit requirements. Eligible projects reduce specific pollutants like phosphorus, mercury, or chlorides. The PSIG eligible project components are those that reduce the discharge of those specific pollutants. PSIG grants cover 80% of the eligible project costs, up to $7 million. Each July, the MPFA accepts PSIG applications from cities and other local governments for projects they believe to be eligible for PSIG grants and for which they plan to proceed with construction in the upcoming year. To receive PSIG grants, projects are approved and certified by the MPCA, and as-bid costs are submitted to us at the MPFA. Grant funds are reserved for projects that receive MPCA approval and certification by the end of each state fiscal year and awarded based on the as-bid costs if funding is available. Each year in February, we submit to you, the legislature, our required estimated funding needs report. And the 2025 report indicates the estimated total unfunded PSIG grant need is about $124 million for 26 projects. We will be accepting new applications in July of this year. And all of the PSIG funds that we have are actually reserved for or committed to projects on that carry forward list. Finally, the new program is the Emerging Contaminants Program, and this is a grant program designed to supplement the federal emerging contaminants dollars to increase the grant percentages and caps for projects to treat manganese and PFAS substances in municipal drinking water systems. Our goal with this program is to extend the reach of these dollars so that we can actually reach more systems statewide that are facing these issues. The proposed legislation creates a new funding program designed to address projects necessary to comply with drinking water emerging contaminant concerns. The EC program will ensure water systems across the state provide safe and reliable water to their residents. And we will be partnering state dollars with the federal funds, like I said, to extend the reach of what we're doing. The program is designed to fit into our already established Drinking Water Revolving Fund program, which is well known and understood by our constituents, our communities. We're hoping to leverage the dollars that are within the Infrastructure Investment Job Act, which includes funds that are dedicated over a 5-year period to address emerging contaminants in community water systems. We expect to receive in Minnesota and approximately $120 million in federal resources for this purpose. And this is over a 5-year period, including the federal funds through the Drinking Water Revolving Fund and dedicated federal funds for small and disadvantaged communities. The requested state funds will supplement those available federal dollars to provide 80% grants up to $12 million to local governments for projects to address emerging contaminants. The Minnesota Department of Health estimates the total cost to provide these grants to all impacted municipalities statewide is $450 million. Local governments will be able to access the MPFA's low interest rate loans for project costs that exceed the limits of this program. And additionally, some projects may be eligible to bundle these dollars if they fit the affordability criteria with WIF grants to offset some of those drinking water revolving fund loans. We have 4 policy recommendations. These are the same that we were proposing last year. I will just focus right now, in the interest of time, on those for WIF and for PSIG. We are proposing to increase the maximum grant amount from $5 million to $10 million. The last time the legislature set that amount was in 2017. And the reason for this is project costs are increasing, project complexity is increasing, and of course there are the inflationary factors that you cited, Senator, earlier. And that is true for PSIG as well. We're looking to increase the maximum grant there to $12 million, and it's currently at $7 million. And again, the same factors as reasons why. And the last time this amount was adjusted was also in 2017. I want to close with just a couple of tidbits about the MPFA. Since our inception in 1987, our first lending year was 1989, we've now awarded over $6.09 billion to projects statewide. This amount includes $5.22 billion in loans, low interest rate loans, and $1.21 billion in grants. And important for our communities, $1.06 billion in interest savings for all of the projects that they have funded. Each dollar that the state invests leverages $15 in construction investment and also $3 in the interest savings that I mentioned. To give you some scale on what we've been working on as a team, in 2024, fiscal year 2024, we awarded $363 million through 74 funding agreements. And of that, $169 million was as low interest rate loans and $184 million was as grants. This year, so far, in fiscal year 2025, we've awarded over $435 million to 112 projects. And with that, thank you very much for your time and consideration, and Steve and I are prepared to answer questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that very comprehensive explanation of the Public Facilities Authority work, and thank you for all that work and all. We see the need is great, and we see you have been addressing it. It's, it's kind of never enough, right, in terms of what the need is out there. Since the since we have the revolving loan program, then is there always money in that pot that's available then to loan out? I mean, like we haven't done that 39 million since '23. So money's coming in, I assume, and then also going out the door.
Right, and Steve, in his prior role as our CFO, every year does a model
Ms. Burkholz.
to show, oh, I'm sorry, Madam
I
Chair.
forgot to say your name too,
Yeah.
for the tape.
Thank you, Senator Pappas and members of the committee. Steve, in his former role as our CFO, does modeling, fiscal year modeling. And that modeling is to intend to illustrate to our board what is our lending capacity each year. And we also look at a scenario that what if there was no more federal dollars? What if there was no more state appropriation? Based on our history, our legacy, the way that we're managing the monies, what is our capacity for lending within each of the SRFs? And Steve does that calculation every year before the board acts on setting the IUP and opening the public noticing and finalizing that. And I believe it was 54 million for drinking water and over 100.
Mr. Walter, maybe, could you want to go ahead directly and address that?
Madam Chair, committee members, and first of all, I apologize if my protocol isn't exactly up to speed. I'm brand new at this, so. But as Karen mentioned, yes, even if we don't get the state match, we're able to continue operating, but at a lower level. So we have these significant revolving dollars that we've collected in both of the funds. More so on the clean water side, that program's been around longer. And the capitalization grants from EPA have been larger on the clean water side than drinking water side. So we do have a larger capacity on the clean water side. As Karen said, we have a little over $50 million long-term lending capacity on the drinking water side, and a little over $110 million long-term capacity on the clean water side. And that's even if we did not get any additional cap grants beyond EJA. And of course, the continuation of grants after that is uncertain. But even if we didn't get anything beyond that, if we did get the match for the remaining EJA, which is what we're asking for this year, then that would be our long-term continuing capacity.
Great, thank you. Any questions? Senator Jasinski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And remind me again, and I forgot this, so I have a couple cities that have some I&I issues. Is that qualifying for PSIG or not, or what is the best way for a city to qualify for money for I&I issues?
And I can.
Mr. Walter.
Thank you,
Madam Chair.
Madam Chair and committee members. That would not qualify for PSIG, but it would qualify under our normal clean water revolving loan fund program. And depending on the qualifications of the community, they may qualify for grant funding as well. Again, based on the affordability calculations that we do.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Senator Kroon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just so I'm understanding these programs correctly, I'm new to the committee here, so I just want to make sure I'm understanding. So these priority lists for both the clean water and the drinking water revolving fund, are they just illustrative and they're going to get funded based up to your capacity regardless of whether, appropriations for this year, they're illustrative of what you're doing? So whether we appropriate money this year will affect future years, but not necessarily the projects on this list before us. Do I have that right?
Take this one.
There's a list before us.
Yes, Madam Chair and Senator, yes. So what we do each year, we do come up with our annual intended use plan. And this year we approved going down the list on the project priority list for all projects that had been certified by PCA or Health by June 30th. And we could do all of those projects if they all went through. It's very unlikely they would all go through, but if they did, we could, due to our ability to sell bonds. So we can sell revenue bonds in the marketplace to add to our available dollars. If all projects on the current project priority list went through, we would have to issue a significant dollar amount of bonds, and it would hurt our long-term capacity, but we could do that.
Ms. Burkholz.
Thank you, Chair Pappas and Senator. The project priority lists that are developed by Health and by PCA have many more projects on them than we do on the IUP. They apply a scoring criteria that's set in statute for each of them, and that's to weigh in the environmental and health factors. And so projects can stay on a PPL for some time before they're ready to advance to the IUP, where they're supposed to be at a higher degree of readiness for funding.
Ms. Burkholz, would you explain those initials? Because
Sure.
we have, some of us don't remember and some of us are new.
Yes. PPL is Project Priority List. Those are set by Departments of Health and the Pollution Control Agency. The Intended Use Plan is the IUP. And those are the two documents created by the MPFA. The difference is that the PPLs, the Project Priority Lists, are looking at projects over a 5-year period, whereas the IUPs, the Intended Use Plans, look at things on an annual basis. To complicate matters more for you, we at MPET, at the Public Facilities Authority, and our partner agencies update our PPLs, the Project Priority List, and the IUPs annually. And that process for the 2026 IUPs and PPLs is underway now.
And you look a lot at affordability, correct, for the grants. So it's the smaller communities that have a limited tax base, probably small population. That's really what this program was originally designed for, is to help those small communities who just can't afford these huge costs. And just about anybody can get a loan, pretty much, but not everyone would qualify for a grant.
That's correct.
Yes, Senator Kroon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I think I understand that. So the 2025 IUP would not be listed on the PPL that's before us because they've graduated and moved on, right? And the 2026 IUP has not yet been determined. So my question is, how would we know which of the projects on the PPL have been elevated to IUP? How does that get distributed, and how do we know that?
Ms. Burkholz.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senator, the sequencing of events is that the project priority lists are completed first. And we look at those based on what we had on our carry forward list from the previous year's intended use plans for clean water and drinking water. That formulates what becomes the fundable range within the 2025 IUP. We also have a Part B, if you want to call it that, just so you know, that are the projects that we cannot reach right now for funding. So we know what the demand is. You can consider it as a pipeline of demand. And we look at that for the clean water and the drinking water. We also have a list for the emerging contaminants. And we also have a list for lead service line replacement. I didn't talk about lead service line replacement because we aren't requesting dollars this year for that. But the lead service line funding is also something that is grant and loan. And the metropolitan communities can get the grant dollars for LSL. Does that help? I hope.
Madam Chair.
Senator Kroon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I guess once a project has been moved from the PPL to the IUP, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be funded. It could stay on the IUP for multiple years. Did I hear that right?
Ms. Burkholz.
Thank you, Chair. Senator, a project proceeds when it's ready to go. And there are a couple of things that we need to see before we complete our underwriting and the fiscal analysis of a project to determine what the term is, what the rate is. And a project can stay on that list for longer if they are actually looking for other grant dollars. And so, but the nice thing about our process, unlike some of the other SRFs nationwide, is that once you get on the IUP, you're not competing for those dollars anymore. It's not a competitive funding cycle. You can count on the state to fund your project when you're ready to go. And I think that's a real strength of the Minnesota approach to how we're managing our revolving funds.
All right, any more questions from the committee? Yeah. Senator Johnson Stewart.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A few questions. So if a community cannot afford the loan and they get approved for one, are they able to reject that and wait to get moved up into the process wherein they can get a grant? Is that allowed, or is that just totally not part of the deal?
Ms. Burkholz.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senator, the affordability calculation, as I mentioned, we do on all of our applications. The affordability is really driven by, as Senator Pappas said, the size of the jurisdiction. It's harder for jurisdictions like Minneapolis to qualify for a grant through the SRF. It's harder for a community like Minnetonka to do that as well. The grant dollars really go to those communities for whom the constructing of that facility would be cost prohibitive without those grant dollars. And that's where the priority really is. Where jurisdictions are waiting for more grant dollars is that they may be looking for a direct appropriation, be it from the state legislature or from Congress, or they may be pursuing other funding like through USDA Rural Development, for example.
A follow-up.
Yes, Senator Johnson Stewart.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So some of the communities in my district have mentioned that they are already at their full capacity for loans. So it's not necessarily a matter of affordability or whatever, but they just are not in a position to take on more loan. So I wonder that they can still wait for the grant, I would assume. That's the crux of my question.
There's a lot of communities that don't qualify for grants. I mean,
Yeah.
there are a lot of mid-sized cities that have the capacity through their water sewer fees to pay for an upgrade, or their property taxes. Or I would say, we're really talking, the PFA really serves very small communities. So you might, an Albert Lee, an Austin, a Faribault wouldn't qualify for a grant, is my understanding. Ms. Burkholz, did you want to add to my ignorant comments?
No, thank you.
Okay.
She's nodding.
All
Great.
right. Well,
Yeah.
I do have a follow-up just to get more information on that. I have one follow-up question, Madam Chair.
Senator Johnson Stewart.
Thank you. You mentioned quite a bit of funding that you had already been awarded through the IIJA, and I wonder if it's a certainty that you'll get that money. Has that money already been secured? I think you said $120 million, but there was a lot of federal money being listed here. As part of that question, also, the $39 million requested is to unlock $215 million in federal matching. I assume that's not IIJA, or am I incorrect?
Yes.
And is the 215 something that you're counting on, even in today's atmosphere of kind of pullback of federal money, and we're not really sure if we're going to get it? So just maybe a brief statement on if you actually have received federal funding and what your expectation is for any of the federal funding that you mentioned in your presentation. That's my question. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Ms. Burkholz or Mr. Walter, whoever. Mr. Walter, maybe as a former CFO, might have his pulse on the
Thank you,
money.
Madam Chair, Senator. So we have gotten EJA funding already for the first 2 years of EJA. EJA is a 5-year.
And EJA is Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, correct?
Right.
Sorry for the
federal.
interruption.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you. And the request that we have for state match now would give us the match that we need to apply for the final 2 years of EJA. The 2025 federal fiscal year and the 2026 federal fiscal year. It would also include money to apply for the 2025 and 26 base grants from EPA.
The loan program, the revolving loan program existed before IIJA. Has it been rolled into that program, or is it actually a separate funding stream?
Madam Chair, it is rolled into the state revolving fund.
Okay. The state revolving fund is rolled into IIJA.
Yes, so it's just part of that larger fund that the dollars revolve to make additional loans as we go. Yes.
So sometimes that money is not really new money. It's money we've been getting. It just got rolled into that program, it sounds like.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Just one clarification, Madam
Yeah,
Chair.
Senator Johnson-Stewart.
Thank you, and thanks for your patience. So then the last 2 years of the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, that grant, just for the last 2 years, that's the $215 million that you're talking about?
Mr. Walter.
Madam Chair, Senator, yes, that's the
Okay.
250 million. That plus so the last 2 years of EJA plus the 2 years of what we call the base grants, the normal EPA grants that we get annually.
And what is the magnitude
Senator
of those
Johnson-Stewart.
normal? Thank you,
Mr.
Madam
Walter.
Chair.
Madam Chair, Senator, so the base grants have decreased substantially in recent years, but right now our anticipated amounts for the 2025 base for clean water is 15 million and 7.1 million for drinking water. And
Thank
that's
you.
actually the same for both of those, 25 and 26.
Thank you, and thanks for your patience.
All right. Thank you so much for the presentation today. Appreciate hearing from you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is the Minnesota Housing Finance Authority and Commissioner Jennifer Ho and Dan Kitzberger, Legislative Director, are. Oh, they would like to go? Okay. Let's bring forward then. Thank you letting us. Are you fine? We didn't, somebody has to be last. Sorry. All right. At least we won't go till 6 o'clock, I think. I was looking at a schedule from 20-some years ago, and we used to have committees that met from 4 to 7 p.m. That's brutal. I think I was on many of those. You remember that?
Chair, you have a lot of technology up here. It's great. Chair Pappas and members of the committee, my name is Jennifer Ho. This is my 7th year as the Commissioner of Minnesota Housing. I'm delighted to be up here with you today to meet again with those of you who previously served on the committee, and I look forward to getting to know those of you who are newer to the committee. I'm here today with Dan Kitzberger, my legislative director, and Amanda Welliver over here, who you'll also see frequently at the Capitol. I heard that there was a turtle and an armadillo. I asked Dan if I could bring asbestos and lead pipes. I found out I had to get permission from Commissioner Gronvall, and she said no. But those are my props today. Imagine asbestos and lead pipes. At Minnesota Housing, we really believe that housing is foundational to a full life and a thriving state, so we equitably collaborate with individuals, communities, and partners to create, preserve, and finance housing that is affordable. Today, I want to talk to you about what we do with general obligation bonds. We have one program at Minnesota Housing that uses general obligation bonds, and that is designed to preserve publicly owned housing in Minnesota. So housing that's owned by public housing authorities, housing and redevelopment authorities, community development authorities, all across the state. In many ways, the public housing is public housing infrastructure in the state of Minnesota. There are about 21,000 housing units that are home to about 36,000 people across the state. 95% of public housing is more than 40 years old. Nearly 2/3 of the households are headed by seniors or people with disabilities. About 65% of the residents of public housing have annual incomes under $15,000 a year. And 1/3 of public housing residents are children, and many of them have histories of or high risk of homelessness. Federal funding has not kept pace with needs. Nationally, the public backlog of repairs is estimated to be about $70 billion. And the annual appropriation for public housing preservation is about $3 billion a year. Minnesota's public housing authorities estimate that their capital need between 2020 and 2024 was over $500 million. I think the thing that's important to think about is that the GO bonds for public housing preservation are really because a lot of this critical infrastructure is decaying. So you have oftentimes really critical health and safety needs of the residents that aren't being met by the buildings in which they live. We do everything from improving or replacing elevators, replacing plumbing. We do a lot of windows and roofs, fire suppression systems, and accessibility improvements. If you just take a look at the box in green, it'll give you a sense of who it is that lives in public housing. And in the governor's bonding recommendation, we have $7 million for public housing preservation. I wanted to show you the history of this program, just so you had a sense of the amounts that have previously been authorized, the number of projects we were able to select, how that translates into units or households, and what the average amount of investment per unit that we do in these preservation deals, just so you get a sense of the scale. 2023 is the year we really knocked it out of the park. $87 million in total resources for publicly owned housing preservation. The first time ever where there was a big infusion of cash appropriations in lieu of general obligation bonds. And it included one earmark for the Minneapolis Public Housing Authority. We've done the allocation of those resources in 2 funding rounds. In the first round, we had just about $40 million that was awarded. To give you a sense of how oversubscribed the program was, we had 42 requests for proposals for over $92 million. We selected 18 proposals. And again, you'll note that a lot of this serves Greater Minnesota. We currently have a funding round open for $40 million. This is largely the cash, because we had to rewrite the program guide for using public housing cash in lieu of general obligation bonds, because the general obligation bonds had limited what it could be used for. We wanted to make sure that we broadened the possible uses to take advantage of the opportunity to use the cash that was available to us. So we have received 58 initial intents to apply responses that totaled nearly $103 million in needed repairs for buildings. So again, we expect with this RFP that will be highly oversubscribed. Oh, look, here's a history of oversubscribed RFPs and the program. It's the theme of my presentation if you haven't picked up on it. So the number of proposals that have come in the door versus the number that we've been able to fund. And remember, I mean, this is about things like lead pipes and asbestos. This is about critical health and safety needs. This is about elevators that aren't reliable. This is about outdated fire suppression systems. So it's really critical work to be done. We like to show you dots on maps, just to give you a sense of where our investments have gone. So since 2012, over $100 million into 130 projects impacting over 10,000 homes. About 70% of the funds have gone to Greater Minnesota, and Greater Minnesota represents 50% of the improved units, just because some of the buildings are smaller. Although as you're traveling in a community in Greater Minnesota, if you're in a smaller town and you see a high-rise apartment building, there's a good chance that that high-rise is the public housing building in the community. It's just really important around having affordable rental housing in smaller communities all across the state. Some of these stats, we got, nearly 40% of renter households were impacted when we invested POP in McGregor and Hill City. About 25% of renter households in Janesville were impacted when we invested POP in that community. So just give you a sense of the difference it can make. I'm going to show you some pictures, including some before and after pictures, as I said, to help bring you the lead and asbestos without bringing you the lead and asbestos. This is a project in Red Wing called Jordan Tower. It's 50 years old. Most of the original mechanicals are beyond their useful life. The repairs needed including a leaking flat roof, ventilation replacement, updated plumbing, and exterior doors. These aren't glamorous. This isn't HGTV. This is really like core nuts and bolts. This is, well, as you'll see. Let's just take a look. These are the pipes that are beyond repair. This is the water ponding on the roof. This is a shot of the exterior doors and give you a sense of just how badly they're rusted out. We invested in 2020 in order to update their backup generator and some electrical work. The old generator only had the power to power emergency systems. So sometimes we have the same building come in for segments of multiple pieces, again, prioritizing, oops, the most critical, I get excited, the most critical work to be done first. Right down here in downtown, this is the Wabasha high-rise. You can see the crumbling facade that was both dangerous as well as just unsightly and a sign of the decay of the building. This is the restored exterior. Again, you know, not stunning, but solid, and that's what we're really aiming for here. I love this one. This is the Front Avenue high-rise, also here in St. Paul. This is a boiler update. That's the guts of the original boiler. Don't think I've ever seen anything quite like that before. And this is the new ultra-high efficiency hydronic boiler. This project invested in both the plumbing upgrades as well as the bathrooms in all the units. This is in Virginia, the Columbia Rochelo Apartments. It's 147 apartments that primarily serve elderly and disabled tenants. The largest part of this project was the new fire alarm system. No, that is not the new one on the right. This is what the old one looked like. We also were able to install security cameras, where they installed security cameras in the building and updated the common area bathrooms to make them more accessible. I just want to point out the duct tape and the broom handle. This is what the fire marshal himself did to keep the building operational when the building pulled a fire alarm while they were waiting to be able to do the preservation work on the deal. Just as a special bonus on this one, the peeling paint did contain asbestos. So you know, they were able to take care of that as well. And then here's the happy ending on that one. These are the residents in their new and improved facility after the preservation deal was completed. So I just really wanted to give you a sense, you know, how it helped public housing authorities build this public housing, but they didn't follow through on their promise to help maintain it as high quality units in the communities that they serve. Oftentimes in these communities, these buildings are home to some of the lowest income elderly and disabled residents in that community, although they do house families as well. The fact that we can partner with these public housing authorities in order to make sure that these are assets that are there for the health and safety of their residents and Minnesotans, it's a great partnership that we're able to do because of you. And with that, happy to take any questions and leaving Dan's contact information with you should you want any more detail. I've also offered or in the process of offering to sit with you, meet with you as you wish and how you wish and where you wish. Just wanted to make that offer in case you wanted to do a deep dive. We can also break down the maps so that you can see the dots and the projects that are specific to your districts.
Thank you, Commissioner. On your chart on page 6, you have the year that you received, I assume, money from us, and you're missing 2023.
Chair, it's on the next page.
Oh, on the next page. I was in the bathroom. Thank you. Great.
Because it was the doozy. It didn't fit on the first page,
It was a doozy. Right, didn't fit. Right, thank you. All right, any questions? Senator Johnson Stewart.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you so much for your work. It's really important, and I appreciate the effort with which you take it. And so it's just such an important human need to have housing. I want to offer up, well, just one statement and then one question. So when you showed the brick on the wall in Wabasha, and you mentioned that it's unsightly and it's dangerous, I also want to point out, for those of us that own homes or even have lived in a home, the brick there that is falling off is letting water into the rest of the structure. So it's not just unsightly. It's just like when a pavement has cracks. That means right there that the seal, the outer seal that protects the structure of the building has failed. And so, you're exactly right. It is unsightly. It is dangerous. But it also means that we are allowing for, a direct infiltration of water into a structure, and we know what that does. So I just wanted to point that out, that much of this maintenance work is not just cosmetic. It is really critical to keeping the buildings structurally sound. Commissioner Ho, we own those buildings, don't we? No? Can you explain the ownership of these buildings?
Chair Pappas.
Commissioner Ho.
Senator Johnson Stewart, first of all, it's great to have an architect on the committee.
Engineer.
Engineer. Secondly, it's on Wabasha Avenue in St. Paul. I just wanted to make
I'm
sure.
sorry.
That's all right. I
Okay.
just wanted to make sure I didn't leave that impression. These were funded by HUD, and they're owned by local public housing authorities.
Oh, okay.
So Minnesota Housing doesn't own any properties, and we don't administer HUD housing choice vouchers. That's all done through local public housing authorities, which are sometimes called housing and redevelopment agencies and are sometimes called community development agencies, depending on the jurisdiction and how they decide to be named, I guess, and probably the range of things that they do.
Great. Senator Johnson Stewart.
Commissioner Hull, I would love to know more about how that works. So we're responsible for the maintenance, but not necessarily we don't own it? Or how does the funding work for your organization to put to use bonding money even though we don't own the structure? That's my last question.
They're the grant-making organization. Commissioner Ho.
Chair and Senator Johnson Stewart, the buildings themselves are publicly owned. They're just not state-owned. So these public housing authorities and housing and redevelopment authorities are public entities and therefore eligible for the use of general obligation bonds.
Okay, I see.
We go through these appropriations, and then you decide on the projects that are going to be funded. It's like they're the grant-making organization. Senator Johnson Stewart.
Thank you. Just one more question. As you were talking, it was, I am really interested in infrastructure, and obviously these buildings have infrastructure, but it occurred to me, I haven't heard much from the federal, in the news, about HUD and what's happening at the federal HUD. Is anything happening that we might be interested in? Are you seeing changes in the approach to the federal government's interests in housing? I have not, this is not a setup. I have not read anything or heard anything, and perhaps you can give me some comfort in that there hasn't been news, but perhaps you can give me something to think about if there has in fact been news and I just have missed it. And that's my last question, Senator. Thank you.
Commissioner Ho, have you heard anything?
Chair and Senator, I have only heard things. Lots of things and things that haven't always been the same from time to time. Our HUD funding was subject to the federal pause that happened about 4 weeks ago. I've lost track of time a little bit, but then we did get access back to our federal funding again. But HUD has been given a target of a 50% layoff of its workforce, and it's been targeted to disproportionately hit the community planning and development team. That team manages the homeless assistance grants, the disaster recovery funds, the home investment partnership, and the community development block grant. We are the recipients of part of the home investment partnership program. We use home capital dollars to help build and preserve housing across the state. So far, the projects that we have that are in construction have been able to continue to draw down the home funds that we've committed to those projects, but we're keeping an eye on that because there have been glitches in our access to other funds at different points in time.
So there's a local office for HUD here in Minnesota?
Chair Pappas, there's a Minneapolis field office for HUD, and it's kind of a mini HUD. So it has a local team for all of the major HUD programs. So community planning and development, public and Indian housing, multifamily housing, fair housing. I think probably the only part of HUD, I know an uncanny amount of about HUD because I worked in headquarters for 4 years. The only part of HUD I think that's exclusively out in Washington, D.C. is the General Counsel's Office, Policy Development and Research, and some of their administrative operational arms.
Okay.
Senator
Johnson Stewart.
So thank you, Commissioner Ho. So how many people here work in the field office here in Minnesota? Did you say that and I missed it, or do you have an idea?
Commissioner Ho.
Chair, that's new for me. Chair Pappas and Senator Johnson Stewart, we can find that out for you. And I also believe that HUD does have some employees that are scattered throughout Minnesota, because I think I saw in the Star Tribune an interview with an employee from Moorhead who had been released in the termination of all probationary employees that happened a week ago Friday.
Okay, thank you very much, Commissioner.
Thank you for the opportunity to present.
And Mr. Kitzberger. All right, now we are going to move to, I think, on a timeline online with Jeffrey Buswick, Managing Director and Government Sector Leader, the S&P Global Ratings, U.S. Public Finance. And if you can hear me, welcome to the committee. And this is, we're on our topic of hearing from different rating agencies about how they rate Minnesota for our AAA and for our bonding.
Great, thank you, Senator. I can hear you. I was on earlier and I could see my camera and suddenly it is not working. I apologize. I'm trying to see if I can switch back.
Oh, there you are. We see you now.
Good, yes, I can see me too. Well, thank you for the opportunity. I do have slides. Would you like me to walk through the slides and then we can talk about any questions that may arise?
That's fine.
Okay, I'll share my deck.
Thank you so much for joining us. What town are you joining us from?
I'm currently in Englewood, Colorado, although that's not my base. I'm based out of Boston. I'm a managing director and a sector lead in our public finance ratings group, which we have people across the country. And actually, Colorado may be our largest office now for where people are situated. We have a large presence in New York, a number of us in Boston, Colorado, Dallas, and San Francisco. But we're here for planning sessions this week in Colorado.
Great, thank you so much. So go ahead and proceed with your slides.
Okay. Yeah, with the slides, I hope to talk about a few things, just what a general rating is, a bit about the distribution of where our ratings fall across comparative states, the criteria that we look at when we look at geo bonds, and then just a couple of items that we're watching nationally. At any time, if something really piques your interest, feel free to interrupt me, and I'm happy to take questions along the way, or if it's easier, we can just take them at the end. Let me see, there we go. Yeah, so the just something you probably all are familiar with, but for us, a rating is a relative ranking of an obligor's willingness and ability to repay debt in a timely manner in accordance to the bond documents. And so what we're really looking at is that repayment in conjunction with the reason why we're talking to you as a state and a borrower is that you need the revenue that's raised through the capital funding through the bond market. So for us, it's a relative aspect. We do it in this broad way. Ratings you're probably very familiar with. Minnesota, as you know, has the AAA, which is our strongest investment grade. Once we get below BBB minus, it would be speculative grade, or very often what you hear in the media as junk. But just You can hear me? Hi, I'm back, I believe. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're back.
Okay.
But we're not seeing your slides, but we do have them printed out.
Okay, let me try. There we are. Okay, I believe we're back, yes?
Yes, we're back.
Okay, so,
You are back.
good, thank you. I'm not sure, all of a sudden, everything in the room went black, so I do apologize. So as I said, we expect everything, even in the speculative grade category, down to B minus, to be repaid on time and in accordance with the bond documents. It's just greater relative risks associated with economic stresses. And so that's why people do invest in speculative grade or junk bonds at times as well. This is the current distribution across the country for states. The state's portfolio is our highest rated portfolio of everything that we do in ratings, corporates, banking, governments. We have 92% of our ratings, AA minus or higher, reflecting the strong ability that states have to manage their operations and the long history they've shown in demonstrating budget controls in times of stress and benign periods and periods when revenues are coming in stronger than others. They do vary, though. We do run the gamut right now. We do have 4 states in the A category. And so, as you know from the prior slide, there's nothing that's really even becoming close to that speculative category. We view states as quite strong, and I'm happy to talk about the differences. The framework for how we look at states in the terms of our general obligation bond ratings, this is a busy slide, but I'll stick to the left for the most part. And I'll talk about our institutional framework. The institutional framework is that sandbox that you operate within, the legal structure, the customs and practices, what you have to do and what your constituents are expecting you to do in terms of operations and transparency. Then the other half of what we look at to begin this process is that individual credit profile. And you can see economy, financial performance, reserves liquidity, management, debt and liabilities. They're all equally weighted. And I'll get to management and debt and liabilities in a moment with some of the details of what we look at. But I wanted to share. And one other note, here you can see it on the right-hand side at the bottom. It says application of issue criteria when relevant. If you were to issue sales tax-backed bonds, some of our housing bonds that we rate, although not the ones at the GO you were just discussing, or moral obligation bonds, we do have different criteria, so that's not what I'll be speaking on today. Some of the practices overlap, but for the most part, I'm focusing on the general obligation bond. So again, institutional framework. It's those rules and laws, and we split it up into 3 main sections. That would be predictability. Do you forecast revenues and expenditures in a way that is informative, that you can design a real budget, deliver services to the point that you expect that the revenues you're collecting meet the service delivery that you want to deliver? Revenue expenditure balance. When you have that over time, are you actually maintaining structural balance in that operations, or are there times when there's too much one-time revenues that come in that cannot be corrected to have that more aligned structural balance? And then transparency and accountability, and this would be your ability to deliver timely audits, monthly reporting, policies as needed as we meet with your representatives. So this is one part of our component to rate the GO of the states, and then here's the other. This criteria is not dissimilar to what we've been doing for states since 2012, but we did just update this last fall. And we've incorporated now not separate criteria pieces for states and local governments and school districts, but we do it all in one. And sometimes that's a challenge. Some cities are quite small, where some states are quite large, and to have it under one. So as you can see, there are components that we look at slightly differently. And for the economy, we're looking at that gross state product and the per capita personal income as the main driver. for financial performance is that through budgetary cycles, can you balance the budget and do you take actions in a timely manner to correct imbalances? Reserves and liquidity, we look at to some set standards for how much reserves should be in accordance with our policy. But really, it's what the state deems appropriate, and we see states rated at very high levels with very different reserve and liquidity policies. So it's more what the state is comfortable with and how well they operate within that policy. Management we'll talk to in a minute, and debt and liabilities I'll get into some more detail as well. So here's management. And you can see the three main components are budgeting practices, long-term planning, and policies. I think the thing that you could take away here is it a robust and well-understood management operation? Are you forward-looking in what you're doing? Are you looking long-term for planning? Are your policies thought through and discussed? And I think in prepping for this meeting and talking to Jack, who helped set up my technology, that's kind of what I understand this discussion is. As a policy may change, what may it mean? And so meetings like this are important to us. We like to know that a policy is not something that one person designed, put in a drawer, and then just brings it out to tell the rating agency. We appreciate it, though, when policies are well discussed and well vetted in many parts of the government. And so we value these type of interactions. And the lesser that it's forward-looking, the lesser that it looks out in longer years, and the less that it is broadly disseminated as a policy, we may score it lower. And for debt and liabilities, we put current cost, where we say those costs associated with repaying your debt. We look at the repaying your pension obligations, repaying your other post-employment obligations in that first line, and those are percentages as a percent of your expenditures. And then the debt per capita and net pension per capita are the main drivers as well. So when you put it all together, here are the components. Again, IF is our institutional framework that I spoke to. The median ICP is our individual credit profile. And so here's where, after we looked at all the states, after we rolled out the criteria in September, this is where the medians fell out. And I put Minnesota to the right. It may be easier if you have the handout to see this. It's small, but you can see the AAA rating for Minnesota is very strong. It aligns quite well with the other AAA scores that we have. The economy scores are higher than average. The reserves are higher than average. We view management as strong, which is the highest score, the 1. And then for a lot of the debt and pension capacity, there is some capacity there as well in our view. Happy to talk to this at any other time as well. But some of the things I find interesting, reserves for a long time in states, we did not have uniformity in all states having reserves in either rainy day fund, a budget stabilization fund, or some named reserve that is purposeful to help solve budget problems. It was only until really about 4 years ago when we started to see every state have that. We now have every state with it. And in the reserve component, we have the ability for us to assess the highest score is having a reserve policy above 8% of your expenditures. You can see here most states have that, Minnesota including. There are some states that are quite in excess of that. It doesn't give them extra points. We still have just the 8%. The 8% is our ability to consider that highest score. And I say ability to because we also like to see an understanding of how we will draw on a reserve, when you draw on it, how you plan to replenish it. And so it's a longer discussion on the, again, robustness and forward-looking nature of reserves. We have the current costs here. I said it was one of the chief components of what we look at for the debt component. Minnesota below the national average here. And I've shaded the bars, and you can see the pension costs in some states are quite extraordinary, much more than even their debt costs. Other places, OPEB is quite a large component and a high cost. And so as we look across, we think it's helpful to look at these fixed costs as current obligations that are due. And so if you combine them together, it's that part of the budget that's less flexible if you have to change things in times of stress. We know these numbers would have to come in, and so we look at it. Some of the higher components there do have some of the lower ratings. Connecticut is AA-, New Jersey is A+, Illinois is A-. So then the last slide, I just wanted to share some of the things we're watching, and I believe this is probably what you are all talking about in this committee as well, right? It's what's happening in the federal policy. I heard the question from the housing expert last. Labor shortages, what's happening? This could have both federal implications and local implications. What does this mean? We think over the past few years, states have been very focused on hiring back and delivering services. That has often come with increased wages. As we're seeing new budgets, we think those new wage costs are coming home to have a little more pressure on state budgets, so we're looking at that. Tax structures, a lot of states have been, with the robust revenues from the past few years, redesigning tax structures, giving tax rebates, either one-time or permanent tax cuts. We think as revenues decelerate, that really could be difficult to forecast, so we're watching that. Demographics and aging population is a challenge for many. We see that across the country. And then event risks, we have seen geopolitical, cyber, and weather commonly hitting. So these are things that could affect that geo and as we go forward. I did in the appendix just put the other components of the ICP and maybe a couple other graphs that I thought could be of help. But I will open it up for questions, and I'm happy to try to highlight anything that you find here of interest.
Thank you so much, Mr. Buswick. You've given us a lot to digest here in a very short period of time, and I might have to read over your slides several times. But questions, Senator Housley.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Mr. Buswick. Does the rate of growth of Minnesota's state budget, nearly 40%, raise concerns for future credit?
Mr. Buswick.
Yeah, absolutely. There is something within that forward-looking progress that we do look to. The rate of growth, if it's not deemed compatible to the rate of revenue growth, the rate of expenditure growth, then we could see that driving an imbalance. I talked a little bit about that structural balance, and that's something that we do look at closely. The rate that we're seeing in Minnesota has not risen to the point of a broad, deep discussion in our committees. This is something where we have seen for Minnesota the revenues growing realistically in line with the increasing expenditures. So at the time, it is something that we look at, but it's not a high credit feature driving the discussion for Minnesota at the time. But it is an issue that in many states, we're starting to see expenditure growth start to outpace projected revenue growth, which in the out years really raises the question of how will you solve these imbalances. Not to the point here in Minnesota, but other states we are seeing that.
Follow up, Madam
Yes,
Chair?
Senator Housley.
Thank you, Mr. Buswick. So what impact does Minnesota's $5 billion structural deficit potentially have on future ratings?
Mr. Buswick.
Sorry, yes. The longer a structural deficit is present, the more it will become a credit discussion in our broader committees. One thing I didn't talk about, you may have relationships with 2 or 3 analysts over a couple-year period. Those analysts come in, gather the information, share it as a team. We have a few-hour discussion over what's happening in each state. And then we have, like you're doing here, questions to the people who are most comfortable and familiar with the information in front of them. And we go forward and talk about it. So it's a broad committee discussion, one person, one vote. Once you've achieved the ability to earn the vote in our capacity, we do have a test and certification program. But once you're there, it's one person, one vote, and we talk about it. So in that committee process, I don't mean to delay, but a structural imbalance would come to be part of the discussion. If it is part of a recurring, non-being addressed structural imbalance, it could begin to be more of a credit issue that we would highlight either with a negative outlook or a rating change. I would think if it's just a structural imbalance that is persistent, maybe it wouldn't be the only thing that would drive a rating. We would need to see some other things for a rating change, but it might raise an opportunity for a credit outlook. And in our terms, a credit outlook is there is a 1 in 3 chance a rating could change over a 2-year period. And if you ever saw a credit watch, negative or positive, just like the outlook, it is a 50-50 chance something can change in a 90-day period. So we see credit watches as very immediate, and then an outlook as something that is we are going to keep an eye on for a couple of years. So 1 in 3 chance, we very often will put something on positive or negative and then pull it back to stable and it's right back where it started because that 33% threshold wasn't met.
Thank you.
Senator Nelson.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for the presentation. Very, very thorough. I'm going to have to go back through and look at some of those slides again, but I just have a couple kind of very brief questions. As we are looking at, obviously, it's great that we have a AAA rating. We want to keep that at really all costs. I think that's imperative that we do that here. But now my question is, so I'm kind of thinking about how our future rating might be impacted by how we solve this structural budget deficit that's looming on the horizon. I think the last I saw was about $5 billion, 5.1 maybe. But so how would it, so there's a couple things we can do. How would it affect our future credit rating if we solved the structural budget deficit through raising taxes, for example? Like, does that factor into future credit ratings as far as solving budgets through more tax increases or cutting spending? How do those dynamics work when it comes to future ratings?
Mr. Buswick.
Sure. We don't have a preference, particularly on how a structural gap is solved. We do hope to see that the solution leads to future balance. And so in our criteria, we do talk about if a structural gap is solved with primarily one-time sources, we believe that very often could just lead to the same problem occurring in out years. And so you're back to where you started without the additional revenue. And so in that instance, we think it is something that may be a challenge. If a solution is solved multi-pronged, maybe it's a revenue increase, maybe it's an expenditure cut, maybe it is a draw from a reserve where you have over policy, that seems to be something where we've seen it have less effect on credit. If it's just a single solution, there's often more questions that our analysts would be asking the team at any state that's trying to solve that problem. And if it is all one time, I think that is where it would likely have the greatest credit impact per our criteria.
Thank you. Madam Chair.
Senator Nelson.
Just a couple other brief questions, please. Oh, I think we lost our.
Did we lose him? We didn't. I think we maybe just lost his picture. There we go.
I could hear you. Oh, sorry.
Yep, you're back.
Thank you so much. Just another kind of further question, kind of also just kind of looking ahead a little bit. I think S&P Global rates, 20% on your economy. The rating is kind of like 20% of how's our economy doing, kind of like looking forward is how I see that. And so do you have a sense on how Minnesota's economy is comparing to perhaps our neighbors or to the nation in general? How is Minnesota? That's something also that I think we should certainly be looking at too, is how are we keeping our economy competitive, and how are we doing in that regard compared to the rest of the nation or our neighboring states even?
Mr. Buswick.
Let me start with the nation. Our economists are holding right now at believing the nation's gross domestic product will grow at about a 2% rate, which is slower than it has for the prior 3 years. So there's a deceleration in economic growth. They believe that CPI will increase and hold and be sticky around this 3.5–4% where it sits now, and that'll have an impact. And we believe unemployment will stay below, I think it was 4.5 again. So in terms of historical context, a national growth rate of 2% with CPI at 3.5 and unemployment at 4. That's a pretty viable economy, and so we don't think economy would be too stressful. Now, we have put out pieces recently that say if the tariff discussion going on in Washington would be extended for the entire year and be to the full extent that's being discussed through the administration, it could slow that rate of growth by 50 basis points or from 2% down to 1.5%. If some of the immigration policies coming in also slow the ability for employers to find a workforce, that could slow it again, 40 to 60 basis points. So again, maybe if we're 1.5 for the tariffs, we're now down 1 or below 1, which is a slower growth rate. And when you start to see slower growth rates, we see most revenues that are generated for a government have some tie to economic strength, and so that could slow revenues and have a challenge. So we do see the expected baseline as rather benign, but the uncertainty is very high, and seeing how they play out, we're watching that closely, and we're making adjustments as we can from our economists. In terms of Minnesota, I think when we look at the two things that we focus in on first, it would be, as I said, the gross state product and the per capita personal income. And Minnesota has very healthy per capita personal incomes. We see those very comparable to the higher rated entities within the state and higher than many of your neighboring peers. And then the GSP as a percent of growth, we see it mostly aligning with the nation. So I think there are times in the forecast, I don't remember which years, that it may be a percentage or 2 points slower as we look at the statewide comparison. So for those two things. We also, though, those are the things that set the boundary and have us to begin the economic discussion. We'll look at things like the industry components. Are there any prevalent economic components that are volatile in our mind? Agriculture is volatile. We don't see manufacturing volatile. Financial services and eds and meds, which Minnesota has some high strength for, are not volatile. And so those things are other items that we discuss in our committee. So I'd say overall, the economic condition is online with the nation, and there are key points where maybe it's a little low, key points where it's a little high, but I don't think there's anything that is the significant driver for credit discussions that is based in the economy.
Thank you. Madam Chair?
Senator Nelson.
Yep, I think we'll want to look carefully then as our projected budget forecast comes out on March 7th, so just right around the corner here, how some of those indices fare. So thank you so much, and then I think that's all my questions for today.
Senator Dibble.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think my question, as I was perusing the presentation, probably touches on one of the elements in the institutional framework factor, having to do with the revenue and expenditure balance and system support. Of course, this is the Capital Investments Committee, and so we hear from all of the various systems from around the state that have assets, buildings, roadways, that sort of thing. And almost every report we get, of course, is led off with a discussion on all of the deferred maintenance that that particular system faces, and it's always in the hundreds of millions of dollars. Our Department of Transportation just turned in what they call the road funding gap, looking at something on the order of several $1 billion shortfall in our roadway maintenance infrastructure, despite having put some additional resources into our transportation system as recently as 2 years ago. We have substantial shortfall that we anticipate over the coming 20 plus years, and sometimes it's just very, very concerning, and it feels like we're exposed to a certain amount of downside risk if we don't keep up all of that essential infrastructure that has a lot to do with providing in financing the services that we're committed to as a state. And wondering how much that is factored in, kind of that capital asset downside risk, failure to keep up with all of that essential economic infrastructure.
Mr. Buswick.
Yeah, it is an issue we talk about. I wish there was a broad, comparable ranking for deferred maintenance that everyone could use. I think we've seen in the industry, the Government Accounting Standards Board take a crack at it. The American Society of Civil Engineers also tries to gauge these things. It's not a metric we can get from an independent source. So we very regularly rely on the information that you receive to say, what are these risks? We agree. A large unfunded out-year cost is something that we would want to understand how you were thinking about it. And so the recurring ability for any entity to think about how you prioritize, where you would move funding, what may make the largest impact, that's what we hope our analysts are talking with your team about, and just to find that out. So it is something that we talk about regularly. We don't have an independent way to say this state's doing it better than others, but we appreciate those states that come in with a clean, in the part of the management where I talked about a robust, long-term, forward-looking plan. And that forward-looking plan is also the discussion of, well, we're doing these things because we haven't been able to in 10 years. We think it's finally the time when we have to address school needs or whatever it is that is the topic. And so we recognize the funding sources are never sufficient for everything that everyone needs. We don't have a way to say the best way to do it is this, but what we hope to do is have a discussion with the members of the teams at the issuer's level, the state, that says, here's how we're prioritizing and why, and we think we're offsetting this risk of the future of coming down where dams have been ignored for too long. We don't want to wait until there's a disaster, or our roadways are really poor and we think it's slowing service delivery, we're going to improve them. Whatever the discussion is that you're having is on the ground and cleaner. We appreciate when you share it, and for us it's that why and how frequent those discussions are happening that would aid us in trying to gauge the creditworthiness.
Senator Rasmussen. Senator Dibble, did you have anything more?
I do have a different question, but I can wait until
Okay.
I can go.
I'll go back
for
to you.
second round after Senator Rasmussen. Thanks.
All right. Well, Senator Nelson's now ahead of you. Senator Rasmussen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My question is for the testifier. Minnesota has internal debt guidelines that basically are internal constraints on how much debt we issue, including our general obligation bonds. Are those guidelines that you evaluate and look at as a part of your analysis? And what would happen if the state of Minnesota were to exceed those internal guidelines? Is that something that your credit committee would discuss or not? Thank you, Madam Chair.
Mr. Buswick.
I think the answer for both is yes. We do look at them. We see your percent of personal income for the debt outstanding, the debt authorized. We have the standards that you share with us. States all have different standards, and so again, it goes to the discussion of why you think these are important. What long-term purpose is it driving? Why are you issuing it? Those are the discussions that we have. So we see them, we look at them, we talk about them, we compare them internally with the peer states. If the guidelines were to be missed, it could be a credit issue. I think it's one of those things where we'd go back and say, okay, can you explain to us, did you pass this threshold knowingly, or was it a surprise? Are you passing it knowingly forever, or do you have a short-term bridge that you're trying to get to, that you're going to cross it for 2 or 3 years and then get back to being within compliance? Just because you cross it is not an inherent credit negative in a way that, that'll throw up a flag. It would just raise more questions. The way that the questions get answered could have more of that credit impact. If it is, we didn't know we were going to miss it, and now we don't care anymore, well, it kind of weakens how we view not just the threshold that you crossed, but maybe any threshold, right? Because if it's not important to you, why is it important to us? And so it is one of those issues that we talk about in committee, we compare broadly, but when a number is not hit or not hit for a couple of years, it's the discussion that I find more important. Is it long-term? Are you going to remedy it? Are you going to change it? Do you think a different policy is more important and appropriate? All those answers can be fine. If it's ignored, if it's just let go, that's where I think we have greater credit discussions.
Senator Nelson.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Excuse me, Senator Rasmussen, did you have any follow-up? Okay, Senator Nelson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My question is kind of along the same lines as Senator Rasmussen's, but just a little more detailed, talking about state debt. I'm kind of interested in state debt per capita. And like, what are the recent trends that you're seeing in state debt per capita? And do we know, how does Minnesota compare? You might not have that at your right hand, how Minnesota compares, but if not, that's something we should look at. But what are the trends that you're seeing in state debt per capita?
Sure.
Mr. Buswick.
So I revert back to this slide where you can see some of the state debt per capita numbers. It would be the net direct debt per capita, and then I've shortened that. So Minnesota, as you compare to other AAAs, might be a little higher, but it's not outside of the realm of all states. For the past few years, state debt per capita has held. We do a state debt report. I don't have it in front of me. I want to say for the past 15 years, it's ranged between, on average, $950 per capita to about $1,100-1,200 per capita. I'm trying to remember the report. But it's within that range. So we're somewhere around a standard deviation around $1,000 per person. When it gets exceedingly higher than that, we'll start to ask questions. When it's lower than that, we view some debt capacity. Through the pandemic, we did have a few states, Montana and Missouri, both paid off all their geo debt, and so their direct debt per capita went to zero. And that can skew some of the comparative numbers, but it's still something that we look at and recognize. So I think overall, for 15 years, it's been relatively stable, bouncing around a number that we do not see as difficult for a state to manage to. Minnesota, as you can see here, is slightly above that average, but not to the point that we think it is a significant credit driver.
Thank you.
Senator Dibble.
So my question is kind of a variation on the prior two questions that were asked. How closely do you scrutinize the type of debt? And I think you touched on it in your presentation. You know, we have debt that's supported by the general taxes of the state of Minnesota, other kinds of debt that has more of an internal, is it more internally supported, et cetera. We have pension obligations, those kinds of exposures, et cetera. How fine a lens do you put on the various kinds of debt that we're carrying to ascertain how much exposure we have, on a per capita basis or, moral obligation, et cetera?
Mr. Buswick.
In our debt capacity, the numbers I'm sharing, it is inclusive of geo debt, appropriation debt, which would typically be a geo that would be a geo that would be revisited each year, or a specific revenue source that could be revisited each year, like a sales tax or gas tax. So we do try to look at that all-encompassing obligation for what the taxpayers in the state may be on the hook for over time, and see what that comes in. We don't have any type of preference. There's no article that we've written, any commentary, any criteria that says if this is better than that debt. It's what the state feels is the most appropriate to service their debt needs. And so we have some states that are very sales tax heavy. We have some that don't issue geo debt at all and do everything through appropriation basis. And so they have the ability to go back and look at that payment each year. We do typically notch appropriation debt at least one notch off the state geo because just that risk, right? If you make a decision that's different, geo is more of a longer term obligation in our view with a broader revenue stream to help pay for it. So we look at it all. There's no priority to how we may look at it, but it is part of that discussion. Why would you as a state do more geo, or why would you as a state do more gas tax, or why would you do more sales tax? And there can be viable reasons for this. It can be competing nature from some of the local governments having access to certain of these sources as well, or it could just be that that's how it's been accustomed to over time, and that's perfectly fine. So I'd say it's something that we look at. We try to look at all in, so we have that full understanding of what the liability may be to those who are paying, but how you shift from one to the other, it's more discussion than any type of criteria metric that we would gauge against.
We need to wrap up. Thank you very much, Mr. Buswick. We really appreciate your presentation and your insights. But thank you. And members, just a little reminder, we're not meeting on Thursday, so we're going to go a little bit later today and invite the Historical Society to come forward, Mr. Kent Whitworth, the Director and CEO, Mr. Kelleher, Vice President of Public Policy and Government Relations. And I think next week we have the third rating agency coming in. What are they called? Fitch. Right. Welcome to the committee. Thank you for waiting and listening to that fascinating discussion about debt.
Chair Pappas, Lead Member Housley, members of the committee, my name is Kent Whitworth. I'm CEO and Director of the Minnesota Historical Society. You know my colleague quite well, David Kelleher, who serves as our Vice President of Public Policy and Government Relations. And I just want to observe that in the midst of these weighty issues that have been discussed throughout this hearing, that I'm very grateful to the state of Minnesota and this committee in particular for your investment in state and local history across Minnesota. It's one of the reasons why public history work in this state is so widely respected across the country. So thank you so much for that. We appreciate the opportunity to very briefly touch on a few highlights in terms of the Minnesota Historical Society's capital investment needs. And we'll just quickly say thank you to each of you who have joined us for bonding tours in the past. We have had the chance to visit with a number of you at our various historic sites across the state. And we are always happy to host on future bonding tours. So for those in the room that might be thinking about that, it is a standing invitation on behalf of
Thank you, Director Whitworth. We always do enjoy the historic sites that we visit.
Thank you. So today we are going to provide just a very, very brief overview of what we do, who we are, and then we'll dive into the particular needs from the capital investment standpoint. I'll start very quickly by highlighting our mission statement, which is to serve all the people of Minnesota. And we do that by creating powerful engagement with history. And our goal is to help cultivate curiosity and to foster a more inclusive and empathetic, informed society across the state of Minnesota. You may think about our historic sites because of their significance, and that certainly is important. There's a reason we have saved these more than 150 buildings across the state for their historical significance, but also want you to think briefly about what goes on in each of those facilities. You may have been a part of a school program. You may have chaperoned a field trip or even been a teacher on one of those field trips. You might think about having taken a guided tour at one of our historic sites or visited one of our exhibits at the Historic Site Visitor Center or the History Center down the street.
Or Director Whitworth's been a tour guide at the Hill House.
Yes, right. Just saying, right? And I'm thinking about History Day students that are former History Day students around your table this afternoon as well. So moving on from the mission statement, I will just tell you that that our strategic plan is a guiding document for our organization. If you're curious about those priorities at MNHS, I would just encourage you to take a quick look at those imperatives and the concepts of access and thinking about physical space and virtual space and how we maximize that, how we share authority, how we expand expertise and authority. And then also, none of those would be possible if we weren't serious about creating a sustainable future and thinking strategically about the alignment of our financial resources, our human resources, and our mission and how we deliver that. Today, we've got 3 focus areas of our capital budget request, and we'll spend just a minute or two talking about each of those. First is our historic sites asset preservation. As you know, we've got 26 sites across the state representing 150 buildings. More than 100 of those are a century old and have very specific needs as a result. The second focus area is a community and local historic preservation grant program that is funded through the capital budget. And then third is our preservation and access to history, our PATH project. Several of you have heard us talk about that in committee and in one-on-one conversations. So with that, I'll hand off to my colleague, David Kelleher, to launch into asset preservation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, David Kelleher, Director of Public Policy and Government Affairs for the Minnesota Historical Society. Thanks again for taking a few minutes to hear our capital investment request for 2025. As Kent mentioned, the Historic Sites Network is a really key component of the work that we do and an important part of our capital investment request. So you have in your folder a map and plan your capital budget trips for next summer and fall, personal and committee trips. As Kent mentioned, we love having you visit the sites across the state. Just covering a couple of things that Kent mentioned on the Historic Sites Network. This Historic Sites Network is mentioned in state statute. The Chapter 138 covers historic sites, and these are a state responsibility. And we appreciate the help that you have provided over the years for historic sites and the History Center in St. Paul. We'll walk through some of the needs with photos, but I would also mention that some of our modern visitor center locations around the state, just like you heard from the zoo, they're reaching their life cycle of being 50 years old and need some help with a roof or mechanicals, heating and cooling system. Madam Chair, we brought this diagram to you last year, and I think you found it helpful to imagine how we get to the numbers that are in our request. We don't just throw a dart. This is based on the specific projects that we have that we'll get to in a second, but looking at a long-term projection of what is the replacement value of our facilities at historic sites and the History Center, and what's the regular wear and tear. And if you think of this as a water bucket or a rainwater bucket, that rainwater bucket is going to get filled up each year, hopefully in a sufficient amount, but it's also going to drain off from that wear and tear. And if you think about the rate at which that wear and tear does its work on structures, think of a 25-year roof. You have to put 4% into that to get to the life cycle of that. So from there, we can estimate how much we need to keep up with the building conditions. And if you look at that 4% figure in the previous slide, the bar over on the right of this bar graph is what 4% represents. And that's about $11 million a year. And to the extent that you're doing a capital investment bill every 2 years, 2-year cycle, that's $22 million each cycle. If you look at the past history, the 20-year average is about $5 million. The 2020 appropriation was about $2 million. The 2023 appropriation, very helpful, being about 14 or 15 million, and we're working through those projects right now. We have a couple of slides on those, but we are falling behind on keeping up with the building needs that we have in the Historic Sites Network. Madam Chair, members of the committee, here's a list of the projects that we have in this current asset preservation request. These specific projects are prioritized. The governor's recommendation for this area is 5.1 million. And if you look at the list over on the right-hand column where the Kelly Farm outbuilding is underlined, that's how far we would get with 5 million out of an overall list of 15 million. Madam Chair, here are some examples from the 2023 capital investment bill, some asset preservation projects that are that are in process. And members of the committee, the image on the right is Mill City Museum, and that is part of the grain elevators. Unlike the zoo, we actually do have some live animals, but we didn't bring them today. The team of oxen probably wouldn't do well in this room. If we brought one of the chickens from the Kelly farm, you might freak out and think that bird flu might be with you. So for show and tell, we didn't bring any live animals, but we brought some evidence of the need for doing asset preservation projects. You look at the picture up there, that's Mill City Museum concrete grain elevator. This fell off that structure. It wasn't in a public area, so no one's in danger, but as things are falling apart, this is evidence, not a live animal, but evidence of the need for the work that we do. This is a quick flow chart of the projects that are from the 2023. Take some design work to get those historic buildings ready for bidding and construction, so we're well on our way to using that appropriation wisely. And here are some pictures of some recently completed projects. I'm trying to remember, I think you guys came to the Hill House when it was under construction, and that is completed with the masonry rehabilitation. And I'll just go through these really quickly to have a tour, a preview of maybe some of your tours coming up. Members of the committee, our second request is the County and Local Historic Preservation Grants Program. Governor's recommendation for that program was $900,000. Those are typically GO bond funded. They require a one-to-one match. It's a competitive grant program and has been very successful in helping cities and counties take care of their most significant historic structures. So up on the slide, some examples of recent projects that have been funded: a railroad depot, a city hall, courthouse, Carnegie Library, and a hockey arena. That is an old barn that is beautiful, that has wood structures, and it needs a new roof up in Roseau. So maybe you want to go visit that and bring your skates.
Madam Chair, the third focus area that we'd like to touch on just very quickly is the preservation and access to history project. We've referred to that as the PATH project. This is a multi-year undertaking, and the current focus of that project is collections care. Now, a number of you were able to visit the History Center on last year's bonding tours, and you saw some of the collection storage areas. So you understand the critical nature of that collections care and stewardship. You know, we think about this responsibility in the context of the audiences we serve today, whether they're scholars or History Day kids or family history researchers, but then we think about those future generations. And so that's why this often unseen part of our mission is so critically important. We like to say sometimes that we're in the forever business, and if we don't steward those collections on our watch, they're not available for the future. So in conversations over the past year for the PATH project, we have sharpened our pencil. Some of the numbers you saw previously, we have gone back and we've looked at purchase and retrofit versus new construction versus renovation of current facilities. And we have landed on that third option, and we're excited to be able to talk about a project that accomplishes three very specific goals. The first is the renovation of our 1500 Mississippi Street facility in East St. Paul. The second is the History Center expansion space. On that tour, I think you were able to see unfinished space, what foresight our colleagues had more than 30 years ago to create that space in the heart of the History Center. And so this project would finish off that expansion space. The other goal that this project would achieve is it would enable us to renovate existing collection spaces in the History Center to make them more efficient, to maximize maximize every square foot in the History Center. So we look forward to future conversations with you as a committee and individually about the PATH project. And we're excited about the pencil sharpening that we've done and how that might play in these conversations in this current year and certainly going forward. So with that, Madam Chair, members of the committee, we would respectfully request your support for all three of these projects, and we'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you so much, Director. Any questions from the committee? Senator Rasmussen.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and appreciate the presentation. I would just say, thank you for prioritization. I know there's a lot of things you guys could be working on, so I feel like the proposal you have today is really prioritizing items that can be delivered on and maybe aren't like big, flashy new buildings, but is helping you keep core to your mission. And I just wanted to call it in particular the county and local historical preservation grants. I think these, the state of Minnesota gets a really good bang for the buck with them because every day I'm sure there's organizations that would love to give you a building, right? To say, please take our historic building and take care of it forever. And in some cases, historically, we've said yes to that, right? And so that's why we have these buildings and this asset preservation list that we're talking through. But I think where these county preservation grants, it's saying, no, we're going to help you take care of your local historical assets and preserve them to the future, make sure that the dollars are going to high quality projects and that the work is being done in a way that preserves the historical qualities present there. And so I think that's a great way for us to point to our local communities so that we just don't 50 years from now wake up and you guys have 15 more buildings across the state you're managing, but we've actually helped local communities preserve and enhance their own history. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Rasmussen, and thank you, Senator Housley, for opening the meeting, and Senator Housley will be chairing next week. So with that, the meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.